Lots of people have the dream of living in the countryside, and if you look up here, you see the bird feeding there. There's a lot to be said for, especially on a beautiful day like today, June bank holiday weekend 2020, and my little bird is still there. But in this video, I'm going to take a look at buying a house in the country, whether it's an expensive house, big house, or a small house perhaps. You have a dream of returning to Ireland from abroad, or perhaps you have a dream of buying a little place in the country and doing it up, like a cottage or whatever. That's what I'm looking at in this situation or this video. And I'm going to take a stroll down the road here now and take a look at a cottage, a little cottage that's been sold there recently. I'm actually acting for the purchaser. You see the bird is still there. He is indeed. I'm acting for the purchaser, and I'll just walk through a number of considerations that you need to consider when you are looking at a house in the countryside, especially the likes of a cottage, and especially the likes of a one-off house in the country, where you're not going to have the developed services that you'd have in a town or a village or in a housing estate, for example. So we'll do that now. We'll take a walk down the road and just have a look. Okay, the first and most crucial thing you need to consider buying a house in the country where it doesn't have well-developed services or a housing estate or anything of that nature is the question of roads and services. So obviously it's absolutely critical that the property is serviced with mains, sewage and some sort of water, well, not main sewage, but some sort of sewage situation, some method by which to deal with sewage and deal with, obviously have a provision of water. You also need then to have legal access to the property and not some sort of a right of way or some sort of an implied or express right of way. Obviously an express right of way would be okay. The bottom line is the road abutting the property that you're looking at in charge of the local authority? If it is, that's what you want. So I'm going to step out onto this road here now. I will take a look. So this is the road I'm going down, alright. I'm going to walk down this way and we're going to take a look at a little cottage. Okay, I'm just walking down the road here now, and the key thing is this road in charge of the local authority? It's the road I live on, so I know it is, but that's a key question you need to ask when you're looking at a property in the country. Is the road abutting the property in charge of the local authority? Okay, I'm just approaching the property now. It's a small little cottage. It's an executor sale where the lady who lived here for many years, a neighbour of mine, has passed away. It's a small cottage, and there's 2 or 3 things you need to be careful about. We're going to have a look at those now. So you take a look there behind me. This is the property sold there locally by Edward Carey Property in Enfield. But you'll see the property behind me there out through the hedge, and the couple of things you need to consider. Firstly, the planning situation. What is the story with planning for the property? Was there any extensions or development carried out that might require planning permission? As it happens, this property is pre-63. Anything that's pre-63 predates the planning laws and therefore doesn't require planning permission. But you would need to satisfy yourself that the property that you're buying, if you are buying one like this, does actually have some sort of a certificate or some sort of proof that it was built pre-1963. If it was, then you don't require planning permission. However, any subsequent development that might have been carried out, for example, maybe a little kitchen extension or a conservatory or something of that nature, an extension indeed to the dwelling itself, to the cottage, is going to require planning permission. So that's something you need to check out. Second thing you need to consider carefully is sewage. So is there main sewage passing this premises, and is it connected, or does it require septic tank or one of those EnviroCycle jobs that you're going to see nowadays to allow you to deal with sewage in a confined space and in an environmentally friendly way. So that's the key thing you need to consider here, sewage. Now, there may well be an existing sewage tank in the property, this property, or indeed any property, but it may be old, it may be, or may have fallen into disuse, and it may be, we'll leave that cottage behind. You can see it there, was sold by Edward Carey in Enfield. But the question of replacing the sewerage, for example, putting in a new biocycle system, that's fantastic, that's great. But is there sufficient ground to allow for the percolation area and to allow for a sewerage system to be put in that will be compliant with building regulations and so forth? That's important. So it's not just your willingness to go in and spend some money on the place. You do need to look at and have assessed the physical layout of the property, the size of the property, and is there enough space for a septic tank or an environmental biocycle treatment plant for the sewerage. The third thing you need to consider is water. Is there mains water? No, there isn't. There's no mains water on this road. Is there a group water scheme? No, there isn't. The plans from one of those plans have been in place for many, many years. Or is it serviced with a well? As it happens, it has a well. But again, that's something that you need to consider in the country. So if you're buying an old cottage like that, indeed any property in the countryside, you need to consider services, and you need to consider planning, and you need to consider the road servicing the property, being in charge of the local authority. You really don't want to be at the beck and call, as it were, of some local person, somebody who has given some sort of a right of way, and maybe it's not set down or established sufficiently, and maybe there could be a dispute down the road where you have an issue with that person. So they're the things you need to consider: water, sewerage, and is the road in charge. And then if it's a property like that and the claim is that it was built pre-1963, in which case the planning laws don't apply, you don't need planning permission, then you'd be looking for some sort of a statutory declaration. That's simply a statutory declaration. It's a sworn declaration by somebody who should know the situation, the vendor normally, but in this case it's a probate sale, that the property was built pre-63 and no work has been carried out since that would require planning permission. Hope you find this video useful. If you do, give it a thumbs up down below. As I say, this is to do with buying a one-off house, one-off property in the country, whether it's a big modern house or whether it is an old cottage that you perhaps have some sort of a dream of renovating and spending small money and doing it up and so on and so forth. That's grand, but you do need to be careful and make a couple of basic inquiries, basic checks in the first instance. As I say, if you find this video useful, give it a thumbs up down below, and you may be interested in subscribing to my YouTube channel. Thanks.